Morning, guys. I hope you guys are doing well. I have a very specific prophetic word for a group of God's people. God is going to be showing you just how comfortable He is going to make you in this next upcoming season. I said in a video weeks back that many of you guys are currently in labor. And I also said that usually when you're in labor, the warfare is up and down. It's not as heavy as when you're actually pushing. And the reason for this is because Satan likes to target when you're actually pushing. Okay, the analogy is when you're giving birth to a child. This is a biblical analogy. It doesn't mean you have to be a woman to resonate with this. This is just the analogy that best describes the current season that many of you guys are in. As soon as you're about to push the baby, which is what? The blessing, that is when the warfare is extremely high. And the reason for this is because God is about to deliver your breakthrough. Okay, that is the delivery process. The other day, the Lord showed me a vision of a piñata. Now, this is not the first time God showed me a vision about a piñata. He showed me a vision again. The piñata represents blind faith. The reason why the piñata represents blind faith is because piñata is filled with a surprise. Not everybody fills a piñata with candies. Some people fill the piñata with money. Some people fill the piñatas with a bunch of just accessories. And then there's some people who fill the piñata with candy, right? So not knowing what's in the piñata is almost like not knowing what type of surprise that you're about to experience. Okay, you know a surprise is coming, just like you know the piñata is there, but you're also blindfolded, which is representation of blind faith, not being able to see where you're going to hit the piñata. You're just hoping and having faith that you're going to be able to hit the piñata and receive the surprise. Okay, so that is like the surprise that God has for you. You don't know when it's going to come, what day it's going to come. You may not even know exactly, how much you're going to get. Again, in the past, God gave you a blessing, but it wasn't what you were expected. But that was a testing period. That was to sustain you, similar to how He sustained Elijah when Elijah was in the wilderness. But it was also a test, and it was also training pertaining to your humbleness, pertaining to you being content, despite having a lot, despite having a little, similar to what Paul said, right? Many of you guys have already passed that stage, and you're actually heading into the bigger, greater breakthrough. And again, that is why the warfare has been turned up, because you're in the process of pushing. And again, when you're in the process of pushing, that is when they target. So going back to the piñata and going back to blind faith, that is a representation of the surprise. So the surprise that God is going to bless you with is going to be greater than what you expected. You expected a restoration, but what you didn't know was the restoration is going to be greater than what you expected. Even if you think it's sevenfold, you may not get sevenfold. You may get tenfold. You may get 20-fold. You may get 50-folds. Whatever it is that you've been expecting, just know God is going to bless you more. Now, the reason why I said God wants to put you in a position to where you are comfortable is because the Lord showed me also, after He showed me the piñata, a chocolate chip cookie. Chocolate chip cookie represents the goodness of God, the sweetness of God. It represents God bringing comfort to us, even in the midst of our trials and tribulations. Now, the piñata is a representation of blind faith in the trials and tribulations, because you're blindfolded and the piñata is swinging everywhere. You have to hit it. You don't know where it is. But the chocolate chip cookie is a confirmation of God's sweetness, God's comfort. I wanted us to be comfortable in the midst of these trials and tribulations. Now, what made me come up with the analogy of the birth being connected to this word? One, last week the Lord said many of us were in labor and about to give birth. Okay. Two, the Lord showed me a vision after He showed me the cookie of the Lion King. And this was all when I was praying. He showed me them back to back. And He showed me the vision when the baboon had Simba, and then he walked to the cliff and lifted Simba up. And that was to announce the birth of Simba. Okay, this was like a public announcement that was right after the birth, and everybody was cheering. You saw all the animals cheering and everybody was happy. That is a representation of celebration. Okay, confirming congratulations, and also confirming the lineage, confirming the inheritance that God promised you. Hence why I posted the video yesterday letting you know that God wanted you to listen to that important word before what? Before your inheritance comes in. Okay, so that word is very important, because the way how God is going to bless some of you guys, God wants you to be able to be comfortable, and he wants you to be able to sustain this blessing, because this is a restoration. He doesn't want you to be restored after losing a lot and then people coming in and taking what it is you are restored with. Okay, so again, the baboon lifting Simba up is an announcement, and it's also a celebration, and it also confirms lineage, legacy, an inheritance being passed down, an inheritance being passed on to you. That's what it represents. So I confirmed all this with God, and this is your confirmation that there is a beautiful inheritance that's coming in for you. It's an inheritance pertaining to your restoration, and it's going to be very sweet. And also, this is the reward for you having blind faith, you know, being content with what you have. Even when you couldn't see that things were shifting for you, that did not push you to give up on your faith or push you to give up on God. You stayed loyal to God. So I want to give you this confirmation. Okay, I love you guys. I'll see you later. Bye.